Tonight, President-elect Trump gearing up to get his cabinet picks confirmed with new reporting about sexual assault allegations against one of them. Mr. Trump's pick to lead the Department of Defense, acknowledging paying a woman who accused him of sexual assault to stay silent. Why Pete Hegseth's lawyer says he's innocent. What we now know about the accusation against him as some lawmakers ramp up calls to release a report into another controversial pick. A big 180 on U.S. policy. President Biden will now let Ukraine strike inside Russia with long-range missiles supplied by America. What that could mean for a larger conflict. And breaking tonight, a small plane crashing into the packed parking lot of a racetrack in California. Look at that. You see it smashed between RVs. How everyone on board miraculously survived. Mystery in Dallas. Who fired at the cockpit of a Southwest plane filled with passengers? The search for the shooter as people on board share their stories.
That's very concerning because with a bullet, it could hit anywhere.
What you need to know about a deadly E.Coli outbreak in carrots sold at some of the biggest supermarket chains. And are more mansions of pro athletes being targeted? Police now investigating whether break-ins at the houses of NBA players could be connected to the robberies at Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce's.
This is NBC Nightly News with Hallie Jackson.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the battle President-elect Trump may face to get some of his preferred cabinet picks over the finish line, as Mr. Trump himself takes in a different kind of fight at a UFC match this weekend, alongside the House Speaker, Elon Musk, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Mr. Trump's controversial selection to run the nation's health agency. But it's a different cabinet pick making headlines now. Former Fox News anchor Pete Hegseth tapped to lead the Pentagon. His lawyer acknowledging today Hegseth did pay a woman a settlement last year after she accused him of sexual assault. Hegseth maintains he did nothing wrong, but it's raising new questions about whether he could be successfully confirmed as defense secretary. Ali Rafa is in West Palm Beach tonight with more.
USA! USA!
President-elect Donald Trump at a UFC fight over the weekend, while preparing for his own battle as controversy grows over two of his top cabinet picks. New revelations tonight that Mr. Trump's choice for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth paid a woman who accused him of sexual assault and had her sign a non-disclosure agreement. Hegseth's attorney saying his client is completely innocent of what he calls a consensual encounter. The Washington Post reporting the woman's friend sent a memo, which NBC News has not seen, to the Trump team this week, alleging Hegseth raped the then 30-year-old conservative group staffer in his room after drinking at a hotel bar. Police confirmed they investigated the incident when the woman filed a complaint, but the local district attorney did not bring charges.
We'll figure out if he can get confirmed or not. And I do think that Pete's a good pick for this position.
All this as Trump's choice for Attorney General, Matt Gaetz, raises more alarms. Lawmakers calling for the House Ethics Committee to release its report of a since-closed probe into allegations of sexual misconduct and illicit drug use the former Florida congressman denies. But House Speaker Mike Johnson insists the report should stay sealed.
They'll have a rigorous review and vetting process in the Senate, but they don't need to rely upon a report or a draft report.
Meanwhile, sources familiar say Mr. Trump is considering his transition team co-chair Howard Lutnick and his economic advisor Scott Bessent for Treasury Secretary. Elon Musk putting his finger on the scale, writing, Bessent is a business-as-usual choice, whereas Howard Lutnick will actually enact change. The president-elect's latest pick coming Saturday, tapping fracking company CEO Chris Wright as energy secretary.
Ali is joining us now. And Ali, President-elect Trump doesn't have that many more cabinet selections to announce, right?
That's right. It hasn't even been 2 weeks since the election, and President-elect Trump has already announced picks for more than half of his cabinet, with just 6 top positions remaining to be named. Hallie?
Ali Rafa, thank you. Also tonight, in a big reversal, President Biden will now let Ukraine use long-range missiles supplied by the U.S. to hit inside Russia. Until now, the president had resisted this position, concerned it could escalate Russia's war in Ukraine into something even larger. Kelly O'Donnell is traveling with the president in Brazil. And Kelly, this move, coming as President Biden only has a couple months left in office, seems meant to send a message.
Exactly right, Hallie. Good evening. This is a notable shift in policy. Two U.S. officials tell NBC News the Biden administration is giving Ukraine the green light to use American-made long-range weapons for limited strikes inside Russia. Until now, President Biden had restricted the use of American-made weapons to the Ukrainian battlefield to prevent a wider war. But the president is also alarmed by North Korea sending thousands of its own soldiers to help Russia. And given the sensitivity of this change and military operations, the White House and the Pentagon are not commenting publicly on this. Hallie?
And Kelly, this is almost certain to come up where you are in South America as the president heads to the last international summit of his presidency.
That is right, but President Biden became the first sitting president today to tour the Amazon rainforest here in Brazil, so making a little history before he joins the other leaders of the G20 summit, where they will be focused on the stability of relations with allies and the U.S., including support for Ukraine. That, of course, before President-elect Trump returns to office. Hallie?
Kelly O'Donnell in Rio, thank you. Back here at home, some developing news near Los Angeles with a small plane crashing into the packed parking lot of a racetrack, stunning fans there. Priya Sridhar has the latest.
Private plane crash in 182 district at the Pomona Fairplex, 2700 Fairplex Drive. All units.
This was the chaotic scene when authorities say a single-engine plane crashed into a crowded parking lot just outside the National Hot Rod Association's drag racing finals at the Pomona Fairgrounds, 30 miles east of L.A.
L.A. Fairplex IC, we do have a single-engine plane down into trailers. Everybody's been extricated.
3 passengers and the pilot were rushed to local hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries.
Is someone going into the back of the ambulance?
Yeah, they're going in the back.
From the air, you can see the plane wedged between 3 RVs.
All 4 souls aboard the plane are the 4 patients that were transported, so no injuries to people on the ground.
Onlookers at the race, like racing journalist Jerry Jordan, capturing the aftermath from the stands.
We were watching the planes land and take off and land and take off over and over. No idea that one of them was going to crash.
Authorities say the plane was heading to Brackett Field Regional Airport about 3 miles from the fairgrounds before it crashed shortly after 11 this morning, causing the drag racing finals to be halted for around 2 hours. NTSB investigators were called to the scene to determine the cause of the crash. Priya Sridhar, NBC News.
The dry conditions across the Northeast are going from bad to much worse, with a new round of wildfires and evacuations overnight. George Solis is in hard-hit Greenwood Lake, New York.
Tonight, firefighters in New York and New Jersey intensifying efforts to manage the Jennings Creek wildfire. Strong winds Saturday night caused the fire to breach the containment lines. This is what the inferno looked like early Sunday morning.
The top of the hill's getting brighter.
Higher up. The temporary setback sparking a fast mobilization of first responders and evacuation orders for more than 150 homes in the fire zone.
He said, you got to go.
Jim Johnson and Jim Howard among the evacuees, watching from across the lake, hoping their homes are spared.
And you're watching it inch by inch, and it's like it's coming towards our houses. And what are we going to do? And we can't do anything.
Today, the firefight continued from the ground and in the air. Choppers again performing these crucial water drops to keep this fire under control. Residents in the area also worried about the ongoing dry conditions and severe drought.
We're all on pins and needles. I mean, I could have a fire around my house, too.
The battle raging, but some on the front lines pausing to pay their respects to one of their own. New York firefighter, 18-year-old Daryl Vasquez, honored after losing his life last week while trying to fight the fire. Tonight, the fire danger far from over.
It's not over till it's over.
And it all is over.
George joins us now from Greenwood Lake. And George, it sounds like firefighters may finally catch a break later on this week.
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. Rain is in the forecast for this week, anywhere from a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. Now, it won't be enough to combat that extreme drought we're having here in the Northeast, but it is still just so desperately needed. Hallie?
George Solis, thank you. To breaking news now about yet another deadly E.Coli outbreak, this one in carrots sold at some of the nation's biggest grocery store chains. Adrian Broaddus joins us now with details. So, Adrian, bring us up to speed.
Hallie, Grimway Farms is issuing a recall for select organic whole and baby carrots due to E. coli contamination. The CDC is reporting there have been 39 cases across 18 states. So far, there's been 1 reported death, and at least 15 other people have been sent to the hospital. These carrots were sold at major chains like Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and Wegman. Grimway Farms saying in part, quote, "We take our role in ensuring the safety and quality of our products seriously." They're no longer selling these carrots at stores. You can check the FDA's website for brand names. They were sold from August through November. But the CDC says if you have these carrots, throw them away. And if you suspect they touched any surface, you should sanitize it immediately. Hallie?
Adrian Broaddus, thank you. A mystery in Dallas tonight as police search for whoever fired a bullet and hit the cockpit of a Southwest plane on a Dallas runway. Some passengers on board now sharing what it was like inside the plane when it happened. Here's Marissa Parra.
The search is on for the gunman who shot a Southwest plane.
They think that somebody from outside the airport shot a firearm at the aircraft.
Police say officers responded to a shooting call at Dallas Love Field Airport just before 10 p.m. Friday as a flight was preparing for takeoff.
We'd like to return to the gate, need to have an inspection done here on the aircraft.
James and Shannon Lee say they were on board and had no idea.
The pilot came on the speaker system and said there's a rattling outside.
We all got on the next plane just thinking that it was a mechanical issue of Southwest.
Southwest Airlines said later in a statement that, quote, "a bullet apparently struck the right side of the aircraft just under the flight deck."
That's very concerning because there's, with a bullet, it could hit anywhere.
Addressing passenger concerns, Southwest says tonight, "We apologized for the inconvenience and stressed that the safety of our customers and crew were our top priority." There were no reported injuries, and the plane has been taken out of service as Dallas police now lead the investigation into who fired the bullet and why.
What are they looking at?
They're going to try to determine the trajectory of where the round came from. Hopefully then, if they know the area where the round was discharged, did somebody see something and that they report it and they can determine who actually fired the round and charge them appropriately.
With just over a week until Thanksgiving, security top of mind ahead of what could be another record-breaking season of holiday travel. Marissa Parra, NBC News.
Also tonight, new accusations in the case of Sean Diddy Combs. Prosecutors in his sex trafficking trial say the rapper and record producer tried to reach out to prospective witnesses and influence public opinion from jail. He's currently behind bars in New York. Prosecutors say it's an attempt by Diddy to sway potential jurors ahead of his trial. The government accusations come ahead of another bail hearing for Diddy that's scheduled this week. Coming up, it happened to Patrick Mahomes, then to Travis Kelce. Now, 2 NBA players also say their houses were robbed while they were at their games. Police now wondering, are the crimes connected? Plus, package delivery damages, why it's happening more often, and what you can do about it. A new twist now in the investigation into who robbed the mansions of NFL superstars Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. We're learning 2 NBA players also had their houses broken into, and police believe the crimes could be related. Dana Griffin has the latest.
Tonight, 2 NBA players may also be victims of a trend of home burglaries targeting pro athletes while they were away at games. In October, Kansas City Chiefs Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce's multi-million-dollar mansions were hit during their October 7th game against the New Orleans Saints. Now police are investigating whether the same group targeted NBA players.
Mike Conley!
Minnesota Timberwolves point guard Mike Conley Jr. in September and Milwaukee Bucks forward Bobby Portis Jr. just weeks ago.
While I was at my game yesterday, I had a home invasion and they took most of my prized possessions.
Portis taken to Instagram after capturing 2 masked men on the surveillance video breaking into his home, asking his more than 300,000 followers to listen to the robbers' voices for potential clues.
I am now offering a $40K cash reward for any information or tips that leads to the return of my stolen items.
The police chief involved in Portis' case telling WISN 12 News on Friday there are striking similarities between all 4 burglaries, adding that his department is in touch with investigators from each state and the FBI.
Obviously, it's frustrating, it's disappointing. But I mean, I can't get into too many of the details because the investigation is still ongoing.
In all 4 burglaries, no one was home. Local authorities tell us they are all investigating and would not release further information at this time. NBC News also reached out to the FBI for comment on the potential connection. We have yet to hear back. Hallie?
Dana Griffin, thank you. Still ahead for us tonight, damaged on delivery, the smashed and battered packages arriving at your door. What new numbers show us about why it keeps happening. Plus, one mom's precious gift, giving a stranger a new lease on life. Tonight, the world of gymnastics is remembering Hall of Fame coach Bela Karolyi, a towering presence in the sport, helping to make Olympic champions out of young athletes like Nadia Comaneci, Mary Lou Retton, and Carrie Strug. But his legacy is not without controversy, as Karolyi was accused of pushing athletes too hard physically and mentally. Bela Karolyi was 82 years old. Well, the numbers are in, and Netflix, it appears, has just broken a new record. The streaming service says 60 million users watched Friday night's live fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, their most watched live event ever. It wasn't totally smooth sailing. The live stream kept glitching during the fight, which Jake Paul ended up winning. Netflix is wading into more live sporting events, streaming with plans to host a pair of NFL games next month. So listen, with the holidays right around the corner, you know that means more shopping and more shipping. But the big downside, more packages showing up damaged. Tonight, Brian Chung gets a first look at the new numbers showing just how often our stuff ends up delivered the worse for wear and why.
She just threw it. Did you hear that?
They show up busted.
I was very disappointed by my package.
Cracked.
This is broken.
And sometimes soaking wet. Those important holiday deliveries showing up damaged on your doorstep. In fact, 60% of Americans reported getting damaged packages, a 7% increase from last year, according to an exclusive new survey.
And I just heard a really loud thud.
Pam Loving ordered this TV stand for her new home in time for the holidays. But when it arrived...
And then when you walked over to the door and opened it, was it better or worse than you had thought it sounded like?
I opened the door to find the up arrow was facing down. There was a big chunk missing out of the top of the box.
The TV stand, unusable.
And you can see the crack.
Oh, that's busted, yeah.
And she isn't the only one.
Oh, that makes me so mad.
More and more people are getting unpleasant surprises when they unwrap their holiday orders.
I think damaged packaging is a lose-lose for everyone involved.
An estimated 700 million damaged packages are delivered in the U.S. each year, worth about $50 billion. Ashwin Morthy from DS Smith, the packaging solutions company that conducted this study, says in the race to deliver, packages are moved on conveyor belts and delivery trucks at higher speeds, leading to bumps and bruises along the way.
It gets onto about 50 Gs, 10 times more G-force than typically experienced on a roller coaster.
But there are steps you can take to protect yourself. First, take a picture of the damaged package and item. Second, reach out to the retailer as well as the shipping company. Include your order number and photos if you can. As for Pam Loving, her holiday spirit is still in one piece, even if her TV stand isn't.
Pam, how does this experience impact your holiday shopping plans?
I think there'll be less online shopping and more visits to the local stores.
Because you know how to handle it with care.
Because I do know how to handle it with care, yes.
Brian Chung, NBC News.
When we come back, there's good news tonight about the life-saving gift that brought these two moms together forever. There's good news tonight about sacrifice and second chances with the mom who stepped in to help strangers when they needed it most.
How are you?
When Sandy Flash and Katie White met for the very first time at the Cleveland Clinic, there was not a dry eye in the house. That's because these two strangers shared an unbreakable bond.
It's so nice to meet you.
Sandy, that's her there, had donated part of her liver to give Katie's toddler, Sunny, a second chance at life.
So take me to the day when you meet Sandy.
When I saw her, we're both, crying, and there was sort of this instant connection.
Sandy, I see you nodding your head. What was it like for you?
It was relief. It was joy, mom to mom.
you know, just it was incredible.
I'm so grateful.
Though they'd never met, Katie and Sandy had more in common than they could have imagined. Sandy felt called to donate after her husband Jim got a life-saving liver transplant 2 years ago. She didn't know who her gift would help, but in her heart knew there was no other option.
I was willing to give to anyone who was in need, and brought me right back to waiting for my husband to go into a transplant surgery. And I just focused on calming those nerves for them and sending them prayers.
Those prayers, a blessing for 3-month-old Sonny, battling liver disease, a transplant his only option.
Everything happened so quickly.
It was only days until the family found out Sonny had a match. Katie calling Sandy the family's guardian angel. Now all of them together celebrating Sonny's recovery and bright future ahead.
Sonny is the most happy, bubbling, joyous little guy. I just wanted to squeeze him.
And Katie, what are your hopes for Sonny and for his relationship with Sandy?
I hope that I get to share, you know, Sonny's first day of kindergarten with Sandy, you know, all the way up to his high school graduation, his wedding, all that's possible.
So many special moments ahead. That's NBC Nightly News for this Sunday. Stay right here for Sunday Night Football next. Tonight, it's the Bengals versus the Chargers. I'm Hallie Jackson. For all of us here at NBC, thanks for watching and have a great week.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.